Peace and blessings. Let me check my sound before I go. I had a few technical issues I need to work out. And I was setting up the Rumble live stream. In case we want to go in, yeah, I know I had to have a backup plan with the Rumble. So we'll see how it goes and what you all want to talk about. Appreciate y'all coming through. We'll see how it goes and what you all. Okay, the sound is good. Peace and blessings, y'all. Peace and blessings. I appreciate you all coming through. Of course, we're just going to be talking today. We're going to be discussing things, and we'll see how deep it gets. And if it gets real, if we start talking too much, we'll just go over the Rumble. And those who really want to expose this stuff to a deeper level, we can go over there. So we'll do about 2 hours here. We'll see what happens after that. I appreciate y'all, man. First, let's thank God for this day. Thank God for his for salvation through his work, through his righteousness that he's offered through his death, through the death and resurrection of Jesus Christ, that as sinners, we can be born again, reconciled to God through what he's done. So let's give glory and honor to God always and be grateful and thankful in all things. What's going on, Keisha? Peace and blessings. For many people, I know this is the first time you may be over at the health channel. I have videos on my health channel. Please sub to this channel, by the way. I have videos on this channel, but I had to I couldn't put out videos as much because YouTube guidelines kind of changed. So I have to be very careful about how I talk about things on here. So before we get started, what's going on? Rebecca Lynn, Thalia M, Paul, Bari Duncan, what's going on? Laura, Chad, Danny Mitty, Marcy T, Brahava, the Geo Factor, Miss Smith, Pixie Doodle, Shawana, Joe, what's going on? Nana P. Let's see. Jenny, Faith Parent, streaming. Want to make sure I get everybody. Just Reality, what's going on? I appreciate y'all. Let me do one more thing before we get going. We're going to have a good discussion. Matter of fact, let me share my screen while we do this. What's going on, Joshua? Peace. I'm going to share my screen. All right. There we go. Uh-oh. What happened? Okay, there it is. Oh, I should have downloaded DuckDuckGo. Sorry, y'all. This computer is running kind of crazy, so I'm trying to reduce the downloads of some things on here, but yeah, this is annoying. But anyway, try to ignore this ad right here. All right. So this article is about a mystery as a major U.S. city is hit by public health emergency with toxic chemicals. And thank you, Streaming, for putting this in the Telegram for all of those who want to know where I get some of my articles from. People share them with me. So let me see. All right. So we're going to put it right there. We'll just start reading this. What's going on, Nebraska Sand Hills? Peace and blessings. Yeah, sub to this channel, y'all, because Axiom, Taj, what's going on? Peace and blessings. Hope no one's live right now. I didn't really check. I try not to go live when everybody else is live. So let me make sure that no one else is live. Yeah, check out Axiom on the 27th. He has a premiere going on his channel. So yeah, check him out. All right, and I think we're good to go. All right, so it's one thing I want to talk about before so everybody's heard about RFK. Let's deal with that. Everybody's heard about RFK and And this is where the gaslighting and the smokescreen comes from. RFK Jr. said that he's going to remove dyes out of foods. So let's start right there. Now, I really want to bring this up in a very practical way because I know people are being deceived and they're trusting in these people and they're thinking that they're actually going to get rid of stuff because that's what the news tells you, right? You know, you actually believe what a politician says. That's the first problem. Why do you trust and believe a politician?
Coach is humble,
Uh-oh.
kind, honest, and you feel that your child is safe around him.
Wow. So now it just, huh. Let me see if I can find another article. Now, my problem with this is, first of all, people are not understanding that most of our food supply is GMO. It's not a coincidence that they put a puppet in there that's going to, that's talking a big game, that's trying to offer the appearance of cleaning up the toxic world and society. But RFK is already proven to be a flip-flopper. He's already promoting other jabs. He claimed he was against them, and now he's telling people to get them. And I mean, that's the first thing. But again, it's a politician. That's what they're paid to do. What's going on? Sower of Seed, peace and blessing. Cynthia Sunflowers, what's going on? Yeah, and what most people don't realize, the MMR they're trying to give people, they have those in mRNA, the same that the jab was in. Now this is what people don't understand. I would avoid, and I pray that people listen. My personal advice or what I do for myself, I would not be getting the flu procedure. Procedure is my code word, so y'all have to figure it out what I'm talking about. I wouldn't get no flu procedures. I wouldn't get nothing, anything. And honestly, this is what I'm doing for myself. Everybody got to do your own research. I'm not a medical professional. This is not medical advice, fair use disclaimers and all that stuff. But you got to realize everything they're going to put in your body is now going to be part of some gene editing technology. That's the goal. That's why, what was the goal of putting all the toxins in the food in the first place? People don't understand that it was bipartisan regulation for decades to put all these sugars, all these seed oils, all these toxic chemicals in our food supply. This goes in the 50s. They criminalized fats. They removed all the fats out of foods and replaced it with processed sugars and everything that eats up your body. And they started promoting all these processed foods and all this stuff. So there was an effort to cause illness and symptoms. Now, let's talk about the Rockefeller medical industry. So we know that the modern medical system and the modern public educational system were created by John D. Rockefeller. Let's put that out there. John D. Rockefeller, he created these things. Those are his institutions. So when people are talking about, I went to medical school, I know what I'm talking about. No, you went to indoctrination school where you were taught a theory from Louis Pasteur, a chemist who had nothing to do with health, who used chemicals to manipulate your biochemistry in your body so that whatever effects happen in your body could be relabeled and reinterpreted to create situations where you have dependency on other procedures. So this was all about creating dependency. And we're going to tie this around to what's the environmental toxicity, what's being in the air, how they poison the water, the air, the soil, the radiation. All these things play a role. But just like with JFK, why is it now that they want to admit? Because they have their mRNA gene editing technology. See, they were waiting for people. They were waiting for people to adopt this new technology, right? Sorry about that. They're waiting for people to adopt this new technology. Let me read this article really fast. So it says, RFK Jr. unveils plan to phase out 8 artificial food dyes in the U.S. Why not all of them? If it's an artificial food dye, why not phase all of them? Why just 8? Questions that people need to ask. The Department of Health and Human Services and the Food and Drug Administration announced on Tuesday a series of measures to phase out 8 artificial food dyes and colorings from America's food supply by the end of next year. Speaking at a news conference, HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. said the agencies will work with food companies to remove food dyes from products. So here's the issue. First of all, we have to trust them. That's the biggest problem. Even if they say it, how do we know it's not just lip service? How do we know they just won't change the labels, put the poisons in there because it's cheaper to make, and you don't have to have real food to use? Because remember, if there's not any real food and real food sources like it was before, then how are they going to replace coloring? Like if you go to healthy choices, like for example, the red dye they get from beetroot powder. Most people, if you ever ate the natural, healthier candies and healthier sweets, they use beetroot powder, and they use many things like that to get coloring. There's a lot of things you can use. Turmeric for the orange. Just a lot of things. Chlorophyll for the green. There's a lot of things you can use to get the same effects. But the issue is those are real sources. And when you're using stuff out of real sources, it requires a certain level of handling because it's real. It's from nature. It's not fake. It biodegrades. So you have to add binders and preservatives, and there you got to find natural sources for these things. Otherwise, you just end up replacing one poison with another. So Mr. RFK Jr. says, I just want to urge all of you, it's not the time to stop, it's the time to redouble your efforts, because we have them on the run now, and we're all going to win this battle. So here's this false association, like he's not working with these corporations. Government and corporations, a very thin line. In fact, the U.S. government is a corporation. Regardless of what people say, is a corporation. And that's why, they create this illusion of the private sector and private industry. But the government just relabels itself under private sector so that it can offer the public an illusion of a free market capitalistic society. But it's really the government controlling both sides of the boards. Like people look at Facebook and social media and they think, oh, Zuckerberg he's a government asset, just like everybody who has these big platforms. They're government asset. Facebook began as a government project that was relabeled for colleges. Of course, they put a figurehead. They can put anybody there as the face. Look at Elon Musk. People think that Elon Musk is smart, not because he's done anything intelligent. For all we know, Elon Musk has done nothing. They're just giving him credit and using his face and likeness as a figurehead over these government projects. But most people in the world think that Elon Musk is out here. He's doing all this legwork, just like Bill Gates. Does anybody believe that Bill Gates is some qualified medical professional? I thought he was about technology and computers. But even with that, the mainframe that Bill Gates represents comes from the government. The internet started from the ARPANET, a DARPA government operation. See, all this technology, all this stuff is really the government. And they put people out front and center to give you this illusion that you have people who are on your side. What's going on? Viriano Rivera, peace and blessings. Welcome. Nancy M. What's going on? Daryl Calhoun. Yeah, you're right, Shawana. Is working on those who are blind. Dudley Les, what's going on? Bucket 88, peace. Okay, Axiom just sent me thank you, brother. I appreciate that. He just sent me another article with less ads. But before we get to that, let me the Daily Express. Okay, let's see. Daily Express. Now, I notice many people around have been complaining about the air. You know, I remember a few years ago we had the so-called forest fires. Y'all remember that? When they told us that the wildfires from Canada, and we know that they got energy weapons and they were spraying an accelerant in the air. Now, let me tell you something. What they won't tell you is that they spray chemicals in the air that make it easier for combustion. But people don't want to believe that we have a government on that level. They want to believe that the government is some benevolent institution that cares about you, that will never lie to you, that does everything in your interest. That's the narrative that people believe. When people look at these airplanes and the trails that follow these airplanes and these zigzag patterns and pentagrams and cross. Lately, I've been seeing a cross pattern where now these trails are crossing each other, creating a grid. Let me know if you all have seen this too. People have been noticing that the throat is itchy. They have symptoms, respiratory symptoms, skin irritation, eye irritation, and they want you to believe this is your yearly allergy season affecting you. Just ignore the toxic smell of the air that smells like some kind of chemical. Ignore this unnatural residue that many of us see on our cars. People don't realize some people are older than 50 years old. Some people have a good perception of what things used to be like and what things are now. See, they might be able to fool the younger generation because they don't have a good concept of how it used to be. Because, everything is relatively, they sprung up this stuff and made it obvious in the last 20 years. But for those who are older, they can clearly know that things are different. You said the dust, the dust in our homes. I changed my HVAC filter, and recently, every time I change it, it's completely filthy. Those filters, they say they last 30, depending on what filter you get, they last about 30 to 60 days or something like that, depending on, a lot of things. But these filters are wearing out faster and faster, and they're pretty expensive when you consider how often you have to change your HVAC system filter. Jenny says some of the older people are just as brainwashed as the younger generation. That's true. Sad but true. For the older people who grew up, eating real food off of real trees, who grew up with farm-raised animals, you should know that there's something different about the quality of meat, of fruit and vegetables, even the look. Even when I was young, there was no such thing as oranges without seeds. Apples don't even have as many seeds as they used to have. Lemons. When I was growing up, it was like you couldn't find grapes without seeds. Now you can't find grapes with seeds. It's getting harder and only grapes I've seen with seeds are from some shady back alley type supermarket, usually with Globe grapes. So are they really phasing out, like outside of people who have local vineyards? Are they phasing out seeded grapes? And what I'm told is that they breed weaker strains. Who really knows what's going on? They might be altering a lot of the seeds, and it's a lot of Frankenstein type stuff going on. Yeah, I'm gonna talk about that pixie doodle. I'm gonna talk about y'all remember what Bill Gates said that he's gonna block out the sun in the UK, and we know that we live in a one world government. So what happens in one area is happening everywhere. Don't be deceived by this illusion of separatism. If it's happening in the UK, the same air that they breathe is being circulated everywhere else. So it really doesn't matter if they're spraying poison one place, it's affecting every place. You said the bananas, yeah, the bananas have, bananas, if you go to get most people from and y'all correct me if I'm wrong. Remember, I'm just a person here that does his own research and has you all might be more knowledgeable than I am about certain things, but bananas have seeds in their natural state. Natural bananas are very fibrous and they have seeds, and they modified somehow, I don't know if it's genetically or some way, where we have these extra sweet, extra non-fibrous bananas that have no seeds. Most fruits and vegetables circulating are not in their original format. They're not their original God-given design. The original apples weren't as sweet. They were much more fibrous. I noticed that when I was growing up, when I ate apples, everybody knows the sound of that bite when you bit into an apple. Like your teeth had to really work. Now the apples are kind of softer. They're sweeter. What's going on, Carol? I'm gonna try to read the chat. Just Reality says, Andre, back in 2002, I brought local apples in Spain, and they were out of this world. All of that chemical taste gone. I remember it so well. Yeah. Yep. Starlink came from Project Loon. I got on my Rumble page. I talk about that, how Starlink is a rebranded government project. This is why I tell people, stop believing that these little figureheads that the government puts out there as these so-called fake geniuses, more like puppets. You got to stop believing everything you hear. When you used to cut an orange or lemon when we were young, the smell could just fill a room. Now these things are dry. The smell is faint. I mean, an orange or lemon used to be so potent that if you cut it or peeled it, the fragrance will fill a room. I mean, you can literally take the oils from the peel or from the juice itself and use it as a cleanser. The potency of the flavonoids and the phenols and all the God-given nutrients are so potent, people use these things to clean with. Most people don't realize you can get vinegar, olive oil, and lemon and make a wood cleaner with it. Every time I cut an orange, it's like I barely see seeds. Luckily, I can find lemons with seeds. I barely can. Sometimes with oranges, I really don't see a lot of oranges. Oranges used to have so many seeds until like it was hard to eat them, just like watermelon. I mean, if you took a bite out of watermelon, you were spitting out seeds like crazy. People used to collect seeds back in the day, dry them out in the sun, and plant. And I think that's the agenda. They don't want people to have the ability to replant things in their natural source. Like most of the wheat and the corn that we use today, GMO. I don't need to look up. Y'all can look at the stats. I already just know most of the wheat is not the original wheat that God created. That's why gluten came about. What was gluten when we were young? What was gluten for those who are older 50, 60, 70 years ago? They're replacing God's natural design for foods and using these hybrids. Now cities and states and countries have these edicts and these ordinances where you cannot grow fruit trees in your own so-called property because it's not really your property. They let us believe that we have ownership, but then they tell us what we can and cannot do. Most cities, you have to have a certain size garden and you can only grow certain things. But if you grow enough food that it looks like you're self-sustaining, you can get fined or you can gain a criminal charge. We know what they did with the local farming, right? Many people who are older people, man, there were a lot of family-owned local farmers. Most people in our families were farmers. You go back to your grandparents and your great-grandparents, most likely they were farmers or they worked on the farms or they had some kind of experience with farming. Now, most of the farming is commercial. They're making it so they can use more technology, less people, more chemicals, and more GMO to grow food in harsher, less and nutritionally deficient conditions. They don't care about the soil because they're not really about having nutritious foods. Everything is more aesthetics, optics, appearances. What's going on, XE? Peace and blessings. That's why if you grow food, man, store seeds up, store them up. If you have the original seeds, store them up because the food is getting worse and worse. That's why for them, first of all, for them to ban the dyes when most of our food supply is fake is so moot. Most of the food is GMO. You won't ban that, but you'll get one aspect of a poison out of a food that's a complete poison. Follow me here. RFK wants to remove one aspect of a food that is a complete poison. What's going on, guys, watching this flat earth? Wow, Joe Potter says he's a lemon tree. It's blossoming right now. It smells so sweet. That's amazing, brother. Thalia says, how many of y'all suspect that common allergies are actually our body responding to these trails? Yeah. Let me, I'm glad you brought that up. Let's talk about this because we're going to be all over the place today, y'all. So y'all definitely like, share, and subscribe to this one because this one is going down. The problem is the environment is saturated with toxins that our body is overloaded. We reach this critical mass, this threshold of toxic overload in our bodies. In natural conditions where we don't have a poison environment, poison food, we're not poisoned at birth with procedures, our bodies can deal with pollen. Our bodies can deal with dust. These are natural things that God allowed to float around. But once your body is dealing with heavy metals and the toxic overload from procedures that they want to give newborns and children to matriculate in school, they want to inject you like a pincushion with all this weird experimental stuff that somehow sabotages your natural ability to detox. That's the true, let me tell you, the true goal of what's being done to people at birth and to go to grade school is to basically sabotage your body's natural detoxing abilities. They don't want your body to be able to do what God designed it to do. God designed our bodies to naturally get rid of bad things, to have a self-healing mechanism that requires just us leaving it alone. Stop eating, getting rest, having your spiritual man or woman together in Christ. That's how God didn't need God didn't design us that need all of these things injected and put in the body. Oh yeah, RFK is definitely part of the club. Definitely. What's going on, Alexis? She says, don't eat chicken anymore. It tastes funky. Yeah, most of the chicken is compromised. And when you do find real chicken, it's like night and day. And there were a couple of articles I remember where restaurants around the country were busted from selling horse meat. And we already know the stigma between dog and cat being sold and rat and everything else being infused. And trust me, in some places, it's a real thing. We know about the fake eggs, the fake rice, the circular, that plastic rice, the circular around. That stuff, let me tell you, if you don't know what real rice looks like, the texture, the puffiness of real rice, you could be eating fake rice. If your rice is hard after you cook it and like gritty and all, don't eat it. When you cook rice, it should be very puffy and light. Either you didn't cook it long enough or it's not real. My grandmother taught me how to cook rice when I was growing up. Most people don't even understand what rice looks like. What's going on, lyricist? Welcome. Ask 85. What's going on, brother? Nana P says, I was able to buy chicken breast from a local farmer that sells at the farm market, so I'm lucky in that aspect. Yeah, if you're in the right area, if you have a convenient location or a good connection with a local farmer, man, you need to support these people. Support those who are out there fighting the good fight. There's so much overregulation. They're finding them out of existence. They're stealing their lands. There's a lot of things going on. So if you find someone who's uncompromised to grow food, support them. Find your local beekeeper, support them. I mean, the radiation and the spraying and the pesticides is already destroying the bird and bee population. They want to act like they don't know what's happening. You notice that the only bugs we see now are like the parasite bugs, like mosquitoes and gnats, things that be around death, spiders. You don't see the butterflies and the all the ants and bees like we grew up with. You don't see them like you used to. If you're in a good location, that means the environment is better than most. So let's read this article quickly. It says Chicago was recently reported to have been swamped with toxic air chemicals, but people are divided on whether it really happened or not. They're creating this dichotomy. Everybody knows what's going on. A cloud of hazardous chemicals, and it's not just Chicago, by the way, can be seen via air quality maps hanging over the entire Chicago metropolitan area Wednesday afternoon as readings reached 500 on the air quality index. This score is the worst it gets on Google Maps, signaling extremely hazardous air quality. So many of you all may be asking, why is this important? Okay, well, here's a good scenario. If they're putting toxic chemicals in the air that create symptoms that can mimic respiratory situations, well, what happened in 2020 with the pandemic? What if people start interpreting their systems through the big farm guys And people mistake the poison with one of their narratives. And then we can go right back into the same delusion that they pushed on us in the beginning. Very interesting stuff. Give me 1 second, y'all. 1 second. One second. Yep, big tech has their grips. That's a good observation, Axiom. They're using technology to to give people a perspective on this. People are not doing this themselves. People are going to technology to interpret what's happening. So let me do one more thing before we continue. I want to share this. I know everybody doesn't get notifications, so I want to make sure that I give people the best opportunity to find these streams. So give me 1 second, y'all, while I do this live stream. All right. All right, good. I got it on that one. So let me put it on this one. I'm gonna make sure everybody gets a notification because, man, YouTube, it does a terrible job. Well, excuse me, it makes sure people don't get the notifications because it doesn't want people to think. So it keeps people distracted with Shannon Sharp and Hollywood puppets. Like we're shocked that a Hollywood puppet, something happened to a Hollywood puppet. Anyway, all right, let me go back to, all right, I got that going. So let me get back to it. And thank you all for those who subscribed to the health channel. Appreciate y'all. See Joe Potter, he got lavender plants, lemon trees. And I know Thalia, you're in Alaska, and you said I don't see many bugs here either. Not as much as, yeah. It's people don't underestimate the power of ants and bugs and worms. They till the soil. They bring seeds and nutrients at certain levels in the soil. There's a very good harmony that all of these insects and with the chemicals and the pesticides, they're devastating their numbers. I mean, they want to play dumb and act like they don't know what's going on with the bees. But bees and birds are very sensitive to frequencies, radiation, and pesticides and chemicals. So of course, they're going to be the first to be affected in a very increasingly toxic environment. And I think that it said that this year was the greatest loss of bees in the US in history. Let me pull that up, and then we can go back to it. Greatest loss of bees in US history. I'm just pulling it up. You can't see the screen right now. I'm just pulling it up for the moment. And we'll go to it when we get there. I don't have a script, y'all, so we're just having a down-to-earth conversation. Let's continue. Chicago, it says Chicago was recently reported to have been swamped with toxic air chemicals, but people are divided to the cloud. So we got that. Chicago was recently found to have some of the worst air quality in the U.S. with a particularly bad rating in relationship to particle pollution. That means like dust particles or something like that. This refers to tiny solids or liquid air particles that people can inhale. Key word, inhale. What about smart dust? Everybody remember smart dust? This is in 2018. Oh, see, this is what they do now. But I'll just let you see, since they won't let me do it. Just look at these articles. Since they won't let me look at them. 2018, smart dust is coming. Are you ready? And I believe what they're doing to these subscriptions is another way to make sure that people have to spend money to expose their deceptions. Everything's behind a paywall now. Printed nano computer paves the way for smart dust. They want to digitize your environment, digitize your body. They have to terraform it, right? Now look at this. 2013, how smart dust could be used to monitor human thought. I pulled up patents right now talking about this stuff, US patents, and they're usually very old. Are people thinking how your body is going to react to breathing in nanoparticles and sensors and all this other stuff? Everything you're breathing isn't natural. That's why your body is having a rejection to it. Danny Mitty says, what do you think of whitefish, pollock, haddock? Always try to buy those that have been caught throughout trawls. Oh, you got to do the best you can. What's going on, Tita? You got to do the best you can and see the whole truth. You want to get wild caught, but even saying wild caught has to be qualified. Do the best you can to get the best quality of natural looking stuff. If you know the difference between wild caught salmon from the Atlantic Ocean or somewhere and farm raised, sometimes you got to have an eye for these things. You can't always trust what they tell you, but sockeye salmon and farm raised look totally different. And even the meats, they put red dye in the meats. Well, if people actually saw the natural color of most of this meat, they might be shocked. But I just say do the best you can. Make sure if you go fishing, make sure the waterway is as clean as possible. I mean, and I wouldn't eat too much of even fish and things because we don't know how much mercury, microplastics. Look, if it's working for you, it's working for you. But kind of listen to your body, do your research, know the location, know the quality of the food you're eating. It's our job to do the best we can to use our discernment. Don't put too much effort in labels and trusting the world. They'll put a label on anything and call anything anything. They have laws that say they don't have to tell you what's farm raised and what's not. If they tell you, it's because they're being nice. They have laws that say they don't have to tell you when you're eating fake food. They got lab-grown chicken in circulation now. Lab-grown chicken is in circulation. Yes, lab-grown chicken is in circulation. The U.S. Department of Agriculture, the USDA, has approved the sale of cultivated chicken. That's what they call it, y'all. Cultivated chicken. From two food tech. What is a food technology company? What is a food technology company? You got to be careful. What's going on, Doug? Peace and blessings. You said Safe Catch tuna is mercury tested. Yeah, I use them too. Safe Catch. I definitely try. That's one of my brands. I use them and Wild Planet, Safe Catch, because I do like a good tuna salad, salmon salad. I love those things. Try to make as much like stuff like egg salad, tuna salad. It's good to supplement for quick meals when you're on a run, that you can eat real foods as best you can. Now look at this. We're all over the place today, so we're gonna talk about many different subjects. Going on, coffee girl. Peace and blessings. Scientists create the world's largest lab-grown chicken nugget, complete with artificial veins. Now, let me tell you something. Isn't it a coincidence that they use the germ theory narrative of the bird bug to destroy the chicken population? And they're using the so-called bird bug to even justify why they have to destroy the cows. Because they call it's a trans-species contagion narrative now, right? They said the bird bug is a trans-species contagion. So not only does it affect the chickens and the people, it's now affecting the cows. This is their rhetoric. This is their narratives, false narratives, if you ask me. So they're keeping a narrative going where they have to destroy the natural way of doing things. And then conveniently, they have new markets and new industry that are rising to fill the void to do what? Create lab-grown meat, farm-raised fish. So who really cares about a dye when the entire food is fake? And then you have to really confirm that they actually removed the dye and didn't just offer lip service. Now, to me, none of this stuff even looks good. If I would not eat any chicken that looks like that. Scientists have grown a nugget-sized piece of chicken using a new method that can deliver nutrients. Now, keep in mind, the word nutrient doesn't mean what it means when people are honest. Epistemologically, they're using words to cloak their deception. They call anything a nutrient, even if it's filled with artificial things. And oxygen to artificial tissues. Think about it. We have artificial intelligence. We have artificial food. Anybody see the trend? And they call this a major breakthrough in cultured meat. I've seen words like meatless eggs, meatless beef, meatless chicken. I'm like, that's a contradiction. But they just throw around words now that have no meaning. Plant-based meats is a paradox. But that's the moral relativistic world where the definitions of things and any kind of objectivity and absoluteness, that doesn't mean anything anymore. While labs have been producing life-like tissues, keyword life-like tissues, for more than a decade, previous methods only made small scattered cell balls less than 1 millimeter thick or about 0.04 inches. It was a challenge to hold the cell grouping together in a way that more closely mimicked the texture of muscle. So they're using their Frankensteins to mimic the natural design of things. They do this in the pharmacia industry, right? They give all these NSAIDs and all these drugs that they reverse engineered from plants, and then they make it hard to get the plant sourced so you can get the artificial. Most people don't know about white willow as a natural pain relieving plant. Everybody just wants to go get their ibuprofen and their acetaminophen and deal with the side effects of liver and kidney disease. But remember, what they do is they suppress and devastate the natural source, and they offer a counterfeit petroleum-based artificial counterfeit that has all the side effects that only treats symptoms. So now everybody in the world is symptom-based. They don't really care about getting to the root cause. Let me tell y'all something. Let me give y'all a personal. What's going on, Joy? So when I was in my young 20s, I did something stupid. I cracked one of my molars trying to open a beer bottle with my teeth. And so I had to, I think it was, when did I get it? Maybe last year. I went to a dentist to get that broken tooth completely extracted. And it was very painful and it was hard because it was pieces. And it was a lot of bleeding. It was a lot of discomfort. So I'm pretty sure he didn't get all the infection out and all the broken pieces. So recently, I had an abscess form over that area. Now, you should be concerned about abscesses, right? But let me tell you what I did. First of all, I did all the natural stuff. Believe me, not just oil pulling, not just all this stuff. But let me tell you what the best thing that I've done. Not just that I make this, I call it a tea, but I make something very elaborate that helps my body, and it works. I've been using it for years. I may go into detail with that later. But most people don't realize a tea bag, right? So I got these matcha green tea and I got Earl Grey tea bags. And what I did was I put a tea bag on the area of the gum. And it was a little uncomfortable when it was swollen, but I put it there. I did everything I was supposed to do. I have food grade peroxide on deck. I have everything. But anyway, long story short, as I was driving, it just drained itself. And I had to like, pull over and spit because you don't want that stuff, switch my mouth with water I had in the car. You don't want that stuff being reintroduced to the system. And now it's completely gone. Everything is back to normal. And I know what happened because when I eat the wrong foods, I still have my cheat days and still think I'm young and can eat bad foods. And then every now and again, my body reminds me, hey, you're not that young person no more. You need to maintain consistency with your eating habits. Sometimes I eat too much of fake sugars or whatever and let that stuff sit on my tooth. And I create inflammation, work out too much, don't give my body enough time to heal. Inflammation rises up in the body. All your weaknesses come out. But logically, make sure your body's getting rest, increase your nutritional input, go to all your detox sources. Of course, all of this is structured by faith in Christ because the body is founded with the soul and the spirit. And most of us, we're eating bad foods. We have this addiction to do bad lifestyles because of a grip of sin in our lives. So ultimately, our faith in Christ renews our minds and relaxes us from the worries and stresses of this life that our body can heal more properly because we're living according to the Creator, according to Christ. But of course, that frames everything I do. Now, my body just got rid of it. The pain stopped a long time ago, but now it drained. And now I'm back to normal. And it was quick. Now, I know people have had abscesses that get really big, like golf ball and bigger type abscesses, and they get real comfortable and distort your face. But if people knew what you could do, granted, you might have to get the tooth pulled, or there might be something. Go see a naturopathic, biological, holistic dentist if you can. They're very expensive, but it's much better than going to a conventional one. Oh yeah, do not spit coconut oil down your drains. It will harden your pipes. If you have done it, get some potent dishwashing detergent. It breaks down the fat. If you already messed up your drain, get get a high grade detergent. Go to Lowe's, Home Depot, get a good detergent, or go get one of those biodegradable solvents that you can put down your pipes to break down organic matter. But do not, always spit coconut oil down in the trash. Do not spit it down the drain. Don't pour oils down the drains or anything like that. Pour that stuff in a jar or just put it in the trash, something like that. Definitely. But get a good detergent or one of those biodegradable solvents that break down organic matter and clear up your pipes. If you know a good plumber, it's good to have a good plumber, a good electrician, people who know. They'll tell you the smart things to do. Because I don't like using the most artificial and abrasive things, because then you got toxic gas, and when you use the acids in your pipes, it destroys the quality of the pipe, but also brings the noxious gases and stuff back. So I use the natural versions of stuff. You said salt with iodine? Yeah, I'd use iodine, salt, warm salt water, baking soda. I get the Red Mill baking soda. I don't use that Arm & Hammer stuff for my body, because it has fillers and chemicals. Get the good quality baking soda, the good quality sea salts, Celtic salts or whatever, and swish that around with as warm as you can bear it. It's very good to draw out. All your essential oils. I have clove, thyme, oregano, golden seal oils, very potent in the oil to pull the stuff out. You said Dawn? Yeah. What's going on, Truck Tie? Dawn. Yep. Get the Dawn. If you ever have pipe issues, you can use, depending on the nature of it. Most people, if they have real bad issues, you might need to use something stronger, but baking soda and vinegar, man, and peroxide for your sinks is good. But also, Dawn is really good if your pipes, like if your tub is having issues, get one of those little hooks that you can pull down in your tub and pull out gunk. Be careful, because a lot of the soaps and the detergents, along with our skin cells and our hair, it clumps together and creates like a cement type mixture. So every now and again, you need to break up your pipe, break that stuff up, something to dissolve the organic matter, a good detergent like Dawn to break up the soapy, fatty matter like the coconut oils and the skin oils. Remember, your skin has a lot of oil, your hair has a lot of oil, so we don't think about it, but you add that with everything else and it'll add up down there. You said Dawn and boiling. Yeah, I've done did it all before. You said Celtic sea salt water works great for migraines. Yeah, I noticed that every time I oil pull, if I have a headache, it gets rid of the headache. Cayenne pepper is a go-to, especially if you suspect that you may have clogged arteries, or, of course, stop the seed oils, stop the refined sugar, refined carbohydrates, stop the processed foods. This is what I do for myself. This stuff will not work if you still keep putting the poisons. Get your gut microbiome together. Make sure that you're eliminating waste out your body. If your body's full of waste, you're going to create fungus and mold in your body. Candida, whatever you want to call it, is going to start growing. You got to make sure your body's eliminating waste, and then you can detox properly. Make sure your liver is healthy. Get milk thistle, dandelion tea, burdock root. There's a lot of stuff that you can supplement. Lemons. A lot of things help your body dump your liver, to dump toxins and to revigorate your liver. Also, I use this stuff called Tutka. It's a gallbladder flush. If your gallbladder is not producing bile, your liver produces bile, BIOE, not bowels like stuff that comes out your behind, but a detergent that breaks down fat, BIOE. Your gallbladder stores this detergent, and it helps your body break down fat. So if you have stubborn belly fat, you're working out, you're eating right, but you just can't get rid of that, you might have an issue with your bile liver production, because that fat, a lot of vitamins are stored in fats, and fats also store a lot of toxins. So you don't want your body unnecessarily storing fat, especially in certain areas, because it affects your hormones, it affects everything. So you definitely want to help your body get rid of fat naturally. So there's a lot of things to help get your metabolism together as well. What is it? Green tea is great for metabolism. Just, moderation in all things. Get the matcha green tea, which they have created a shortage of. You say great for inflammation. Yeah. It's important that we change our thinking and we remember that we are wonderfully and created and wonderfully and fearfully made. This is vital. This is God telling us who we are. We're wonderfully and fearfully made. It's important to understand who you are according to God and not according to the systems and institutions. The institutions would have you helpless and dependent and not trusting in God's creation and his natural design. They don't want you doing that. They want to push you into their system of dependency. They want to sabotage your body beyond repair so that you're a permanent customer, right? You don't want to be a permanent customer. You don't want them to remove organs and say they have to cut off your legs and do. Once you start doing that, you can't get it back. So we have to change our mindset, and we're only have a renewed mind in Christ. Because if your mind is not in Christ, you're going to trust the world. You're going to believe that there's goodness in the world and this world cares about telling you the truth and their knowledge is right. And you're going to be deceived by lies and deceptions. A lot of people have too much trust in the worldly things. That's a spiritual issue. That's the issue of a heart. You believe the world because the world supports your pride, your worldly identity, your materialistic ambition. And so you support that which feeds your flesh. Jesus sets you free from being a slave to sin, that you're no longer living for your flesh, and therefore you no longer are deceived by the lies and deceptions and narratives and rhetoric of a God-hating world. And I say God-hating because they don't want you to look at yourself in the image of God. They want you to tell you you're just some animal, you're just some construct that they can manipulate and play with chemicals and have all kinds of alchemy and all kinds of things going on. Yeah, thank you, Dudley Les, for the scripture, brother. Appreciate it. Lemon and ginger. Lemon is great, and don't forget about the lemon peel. When I made my specialty, I took the lemon peels after I used baking soda and vinegar to clean it. I boiled the peels in the tea, and I cut up fresh ginger root. And I boiled it with the lid on so that the steam, you don't want some of the nutrient quality to leave out in the steam. So you want to concentrate it. So I boiled it with the lid on for a little while, let it cool, then took the lid off. Ginger root is great for inflammation, circulation. Ginger root is one of those things that, first make sure it's the real ginger root, not this counterfeit that's going around. It's good to just make beverages. You can make natural beverages and teas for the family with ginger root as a base, like ginger tea, and you can add natural things like you can blend blueberries, and then sometimes either you don't have to heat it, but I'll simmer it and then cool it with ice, and pull out that deep, rich antioxidant color. Now you don't simmer it too much. I do a quick flash boil and then cool it, break the seal of the covering of the blueberry to get that what they call it, the antioxidant out of it. And then you add that to your favorite beverages. Get xylitol. Xylitol, you can get it added to your xylitol is great for feeding the microbiome in your mouth. It feeds the good microbes and not the bad, because a lot of issues with teeth and mouth is about your microbiome. It has nothing to do with the food you eat matters, but it only matters because you're feeding the bad microbiome. So the first thing we have to do is create an environment. Saliva, like I said, God gave us what we need. Your saliva is concentrated with minerals that help your teeth remineralize very quickly. My personal experience, anecdotal, because you got to say that here. My personal anecdotal experience is that your saliva, when you're eating the right foods and you're eating a lot of minerally rich foods like green leafy vegetables, good quality meats, beefs and chickens and fish and stuff like that. Then you do the bone broths. You have collagen. Collagen is a good quality. I use the ancient I forget what it's called. I use that collagen. I add it to coffee. I add it to bone broth. Sometimes I just drink it, or you can add it to when you're making rice or as a base for chicken. Think about adding more mineral content to your foods. Bone broth, beef broth, tallow, ghee. Get off of of course, no margarine, no fake stuff. Make sure whatever you're using is full of the natural fats, all your fat soluble vitamins, vitamin A, vitamin D, vitamin E, vitamin K1, K2. All those vitamins are very vital, and you get them from fats, and your body needs fat to process them. What's going on, Sure? Peace and blessings. What's going on, Trapper? Peace and blessings. You said, yeah, apple cider vinegar. Of course, just make sure that you don't drink it right before you go to bed or eat fruits right before you go to bed because the acid will corrode your teeth. So maybe switch a little bit of baking soda if you do it, afterwards. They always want to take out an organ. They want to get rid of your gallbladder, take out your tonsils. They love to cut stuff out. And cutting stuff out is only when the case has been ignored for so long and you're in so much pain and immediate distress that it's a life issue. It's a life-saving issue. So, and even then, there's complications with that as well. So, again, there's nuance, there's variability with each situation. Know your body, know your specific, unique situation. Of course, use discernment and all of that from the right sources to tailor to your personal circumstances. But just understand that this world wants us to ignore all the alarm systems, all the warnings that our body gives us. When things begin to go wrong in your body, your eyes, your teeth, your nails, your skin, they all are warning signs. If you're deficient in certain nutrients, your nails will show it, your hair will show it, your teeth, your eyes, the color under your eyes. If you're iron deficient, you get the darkness around under your eyes. If your eye is twitching, it's calcium or magnesium issue. If you have the twitching or the shaky leg, the restless leg, your body is telling you that it needs nutrients. This is not a psychotropic thing where you just go get some chemical to regulate your brain. No, you want to address the nutritional deficiency. If your eye's twitching, calcium, magnesium, and don't get calcium from pills. Eat it from vegetables. Healthy sources, food grade source. Whenever possible, I avoid vitamins. And if I do, I make sure they're from whole food sources. You can get every vitamin from a food source. Those vitamins are going to be pricier, but they're better. Don't get this synthetic petroleum based. Those vitamins will just do nothing but strain your kidneys, turn your urine dark. Your body will not assimilate nor absorb those fake nutrients. Minerals, make sure you get in the right form. With minerals, the form that you use matters. The quality matters. Like, you don't want to introduce ferric iron into your body. You want to get a food-based iron that your body can absorb, not something that's just going to build up in your tissues and your blood and cause problems because your body's not going to use them. And when you are eating sugar, when you're eating sugar, just understand that when sugar doesn't come from a natural source like a fruit, and it's not packaged with fiber, enzymes, vitamins and minerals and all of these things, your body will not use that sugar. Yes, exercise and apple cider vinegar can help your body use some of that sugar up, but for the most part, sugar that comes outside of natural sources are going to sit in your blood and raise your blood sugar and cause your body to pump more insulin, more and more insulin until you become insulin resistant and you have all these negative feedback loops and all this stuff going on. Oh yeah, Big Lots did shut down. Yep. I went there to get a few things before they shut down. Yeah, cabbage, kimchi, sauerkraut, great for probiotics. Probiotics are great if you use them well. They're great. Um, it's good to let your fruits ripen in the sunlight a little bit. It actually does something to the fruits. Yeah, you need to get your sunlight. Sunlight is probably there's a reason why they're blocking out the sun. And matter of fact, let me bring that up. Let's go back to the old article. Bill Gates wants to block out the sun. So we're gonna talk about the old article first before we go to the new one. And they call this a stratosphere controlled perturbation experiment. Okay, hold on 1 second, y'all. 1 second. And it's crazy that they claim that RFK Jr. is going to stop the spraying of the sky, but it's increased. They do it more at night now. If you notice, they spray more at night. They have sprays that are more invisible, or they have blacker ones now. They're not just the white chemical spray. They're just finding ways to hide their intention, and then they're going to count that. Oh, we stopped doing it, but they're not going to tell you how many billions of dollars they're spending to send up these military planes day in, day out to spray us like bugs. Where's the Department of Government Efficiency there? But you see, they won't include how much money is being wasted for their agendas. They just want to say any money that's being used on people is a problem. But when it comes to their satanic, nefarious agendas, they have infinite resources. They'll print money. They'll make more ones and zeros in their theoretical digital money to perform their agendas. What's going on, Marianne Goggins? She says, "Pray for my dog. He is sick after going in grass that had weed poison." Yeah, please don't let your children or your pets play in random grass. Now they have very toxic weed killers. They have not just endocrine disruptors, but neurotoxic effects. They will shut down your liver and your kidneys quickly. So just even if you know a field, if you ever see them spraying a field, find a different field. Unfortunately, when it comes to like many parks and recreations, they have government funding to upkeep the lawn. And if you don't see dandelion roots growing everywhere, if you don't see natural things, 9 out of 10, that lawn has been sprayed. And especially for pets, because people are walking their pets over all kinds of sprayed toxic lawns. You need to know about these things. What's going on, gypsies? Oh yeah, aloe is good too for the skin and for your stomach. The real aloe, get the real aloe plant, not the GMO version. You said wild cabbage is a natural painkiller. I'm gonna have to look into that. Yeah, 100% cotton, linen, and silk. Yeah, the clothing got chemicals in it too. Make sure that you, on your identification, you're not an organ donor. Mine in. What's going on? Peace and blessings. I'm just reading through the chat real quick. I appreciate y'all joining me to talk about these things because it's crazy out here. I haven't even gotten to the bulk of the articles. You said aloe vera gel is great for facial moisturizer. Skin glows after the use. Yeah, especially, usually women tend to want that more natural glow. So aloe vera gel is great. You can probably put it in your hair or your face. Faith Parent says, I live on an almond ranch with lots of toxins getting sprayed. Wow. And it's a shame because now I feel like I have to use vinegar and baking soda to clean every food I buy. In most grocery stores, they spray some kind of like chemical that they claim is an antibacterial agent or something like that. Even in the health stores, you see them spraying it in this little mist. They put a chemical that they spray it. That's like it's not good. And it's sad because they do this on so-called health stores. You said, how about eczema? Doc says, I have it. He is not very helpful about it. Well, eczema is usually, and I'm just speaking from anecdotal and my own personal view, eczema is a sign that your body needs to detox. And you need to strengthen your liver and your kidneys. Make sure that you're eliminating, waste out your body. Of course, cut out all the toxic foods. Get more sun, sweat. Help your body push out the toxins. Your skin is your second kidney. That's what they say. If you're not sweating enough, sweating is a very efficient way for your body, your skin, to get rid of toxins that it can get rid of. There's deeper toxins and there's surface level. Sweating gets rid of the surface level toxins. So don't be afraid to go on a hot day and work out outside. Go for a walk or play with the children. Do something where you can sweat. And then, or take a hot shower or sauna. Very good for skin issues. Think about your skin as a gut microbe issue. Like when you have candida or you have a fungus or issue with overgrowth in your gut, that will also express itself on your skin. So if you have white tongue or your tongue is not a healthy looking color, it's a gut issue. And then if your gut issue gets really bad, it'll affect your eyes, your sinus, and your skin, and your hair. Dandruff is more of a fungus. Under healthy conditions, your scalp breaks down. But when your scalp doesn't, the transition between how your scalp breaks down, if it's not functioning, you'll have too much dead cells collecting, and it'll turn to a fungus. So it's not an issue of just cleaning your scalp. It's an issue of your microbiome. Like I'm telling you, all of this stuff is related to like candida overgrowth from your scalp to your eyes, to your tongue, to your skin. It's all fungus. That terrible foods we feed the fungus in the body with the fake food. And the chemicals also create more cell death. And the more cell death and toxic cell breakdown you have, anything dead, it turns into fungus because fungus breaks down the dead cells. So if you have more toxic cells in your body that are creating cell death, then fungus will come through to break it down. Now, if you have something that's causing more cell death than is usual, then you have fungus overgrowth. And then if you eat the wrong foods, you will feed that fungus. it's natural to have a little bit of candida to help break down the dead cells in the food in the right manner. But it's the overgrowth that's the issue. And when you have some bad habits or some chemicals, or you eating the wrong foods that just keep killing cells off in your body unnaturally. Yeah, like the chemicals they have in the tap water. Get a shower filter. If you can get the filter that goes on the main pipe. If you have a home that's not connected, get the but still, even that, you have to make sure that, unfortunately, most of us could, when we chose our residence, we couldn't really do the kind of research to make sure the piping was well. We have copper piping that's not too old and all that. I mean, in an ideal situation, it just costs a lot of money. Most of us don't have it like that. So we're kind of a victim of circumstance, and the piping could have been bad and rusted, and you do the best you can with a shower filter, or even washing your hands and bathing. You don't want to bathe in chemicals. Tap water is toxic. Don't believe RFK Jr. that he's going to do anything. Right now, they're just trying to offer the illusion of being against the system. That's their dialectic. That's their play. They want to act like they're the cleanup crew, so that you can trust in this. And either way, they want you to trust in the government, even if it's a different side. Yeah, chlorine is it's very toxic. It disrupts your iodine absorption, because chlorine, what is it? Chlorine and a few other things, they kind of block the receptor for iodine. And iodine is very crucial, not just for thyroid, but for a lot of issues for detoxing. And so if you're creating iodine deficiency from repeated exposure to absorbing chlorine, and chlorine is very absorbing in our bodies. Just taking a shower, you're absorbing cups of it, and it will destroy your nerves, your cells, a lot of things, your skin. You said, I heard recently that Celtic salt has the most mercury. Do you know if that's true? Well, here's the thing. When it comes to salts, it's a brand issue, it's a sourcing issue. All Celtic salts from brands and companies are not created equal, and where it's coming from and the integrity of the company and the mining process. It's a lot of things involved that some we just can't verify. So you do the best you can. You pray about the rest. I'm pretty sure there's some corrupt companies out there just selling counterfeit. Bromine. Yep. Yep. If you look at the periodic table, chlorine, bromine, they're all, and iodine are lined up. So, they want to stop your absorption of the good things with the bad things. Yeah, Trump is a neoliberal. There's only one party, and and now they're just getting rid of the old paradigm for a new one. Mayan N says, I went to a chiropractor that works the upper cervical area where the skull meets your spine. I went for the second appointment today. I want to see if it could help my tendonitis. It did not help. Yeah, one thing I realized from my personal experience with the body is that there's a lot of holistic things. You have to look at the body as a whole, and sometimes you can spot treat systems, but a lot of it is a whole body things. You'd be surprised that lower back issues, and shoulder pain, could also manifest from nutritional deficiencies, from posture, as well as injuries and other things. There are ways that you can, depending on your range of motion and mobility, that you can kind of correct injuries slowly through consistency and persistence and low impact stretching and things like that. And um, if you just know what you're doing, it takes time. Time, you have to be patient. It takes time. Your diet has to be well. You have to give your body what it needs to rebuild. Your body goes through a certain level of autophagy where your cells are replaced. So there is a level of regeneration for every cell in the body for the most part. You just have to make sure your body gets enough rest, enough nutrition, and you're in the right spiritual condition for your body to do what it's designed to do. Now, this is not no miracle cure or anything like that. Depending on the extreme nature of your problem, who knows? But we do the best we can, right? What's going on, YB? Peace and blessings. Renee, what's going on? Peace and blessings. Todd says, I even recommend I make my own yogurt and I have seen significant improvement in my digestions and skin. Yeah, I believe it. When you make your own, even cookies, I love a good homemade cookie, but make your own cookies. It's the recipe for making chocolate chip cookies is not complex. It's not that expensive either. And you can make a whole lot more and have none of the side effects because you know the ingredients in them. Knowing the ingredients because you did it yourself makes a difference. I know it's hard in this microwave society, but we have to start making more things ourselves when it comes to foods, even your snacks. You can make your own ice cream, cookies. They put a lot of stuff. Y'all remember the ice cream issue where they said that, I don't know, something was in the ice cream. It's a lot of stuff going on. You said the preachers are not ready for what's coming. If you want to even call those people preachers, they're more like deceivers and false prophets and the secular counterfeits. What's going on, Andrea? Welcome. And thank you for your encouraging words. See, over here, we actually care about you. And let's talk about Mr. Gates here. So he wants to block out the sun. And basically what he calls is stratospheric aerosol injections where they want to put sulfur. And we don't even know exactly the scope of what they're going to say. Just because they tell us what they're going to do, they could literally put anything in there. I mean, you have to trust that if they say they're going to put sulfur, that's all they're going to put in the atmosphere. Because they're talking about reflecting, trying to mimic their premise, which is they're trying to mimic volcanic eruptions, which we don't need. Volcanic eruptions put out more particulate matter than we could ever do. So they're just lying to you. It's just that the natural way that God has designed the earth to function needs no help. All they're doing is breaking what doesn't need to be fixed. This earth is not even what they're selling. We don't even know the full scope of things, and I'm not even gonna get on that discussion, but everything they're doing is a lie. And they want to block out the sun because the sun is vital for our health. The sun is vital for plants. You put a plant in sunlight, look at how the plant flourishes in sunlight with proper watering. Don't water your plants with tap water either. Get a filter. Use filtered water for your plants as well, and a good quality one. But plants are very resilient with sunlight. And I noticed that when they spray and we don't get real sunlight, the plants suffer. And our cells have properties where sunlight does a lot more than we can understand. Photosynthesis like stuff is not just limited to plants. We might not call it photosynthesis, but our cells absorb sunlight in a very unique, mysterious way. Our eyes take in light, and all kinds of things happen when your eyes. This is why sunglasses are not healthy for you. It is good to get natural light in your eyes and on your skin, natural light in your room. If you have the opportunity to open windows in good weather, let the light come in. It's sunlight detoxifies. It kills fungus and all the mold in your house. Sunlight, just something free. Adding natural light. Have you noticed that they're getting rid of having bathrooms with windows to the outside? The older you go, bathrooms used to have a window where you can let in fresh air and sunlight, and that helps to detoxify the bathroom. Some even have skylights where they had sunlight to come into your bathroom. Sunlight is a disinfectant because of its UV qualities, but it's just the way God designed things. Yeah, the sunscreen industry. A lot of times, if sunlight, yeah, there's some circumstances where where if your skin is extremely pale, that light sunlight can have issues. But again, the quality of your skin determines how sunlight affects it. It's not always a melanin issue. Just like toxic chemicals in the air can affect our skin, when our skin is in an inflamed state, anything can affect your skin. When your body is in an inflamed state, your skin is not as resilient. And remember, they're putting all these chemicals and smart dust and heavy metals in the air. Your skin is not going to be at an ultimate level, at maximum resilience. Not to mention the sunscreens have a lot of chemicals. They're natural things you can put on your skin. If you do have a sensitive skin, they're natural things you can put on there. Do your research. What's going on, Matt Mittens? What's going on, brother? Peace and blessings. Thalia says, spiritual logic, can you speak on sunscreen? What does it actually do to your skin? Well, here's the thing. A lot of sunscreens have toxic chemicals in them that actually have the opposite effect. It actually makes your skin weaker. And I don't want to use the C word because you can't say it on YouTube, but let's just say the C word becomes a possibility. And the C word is just a reflection of your cells becoming toxic through toxic overload and affecting their replication and their division in an unnatural way because of the microbiome and all that stuff. So it's a lot of stuff that's going on with that. Yeah, they try to play God, but yeah, it is laughable. And if you do have a sensitive skin, get sunlight in the morning or the evening. If that 12 noon to 2 p.m. sunlight is too strong, get it in the morning and the evening. The angle makes it less direct and less intense. But you have to find a way to get sunlight. And when it's warm, don't wear a hat. Short sleeves, shorts. It's important to have coverage. Don't walk around naked, but just have at least your arms, your legs, as much, from knee down. I'm not trying to, take it to that far, but it's good to have exposure. And vitamin C, get vitamin C from natural sources. They got rose hips, camu. There's a lot of food sources of vitamin C. Avoid ascorbic acid is just acid. It might help acidify your stomach, but vitamin C is a complex. And you get food grade vitamin C. Actually, not many places you're going to find real vitamin C. So it's good. Troppers say, I just mowed 20 acres in the sun. I love it. Yeah, man. I appreciate working out in the sun, or when I used to do when I was helping my grandparents, they had a big yard and I had to go out there, and I enjoyed it. Just being out in the sun, sweating, doing it. It actually improved my health to the point where I didn't have that natural routine. I saw the difference. The sweating, the sun exposure. So get out and walk as much. Walking itself is low impact, good for even it doesn't stress out the heart. It helps to get your lymphatic system, oxygenate the body. Now, if you have injury, I get it. Of course, you got to do what's in your best interest. But if you are healthy, walking is great. I mean, as long as you don't have joint issues or anything like that, feet, joint, back, do what you can. So let's go to the latest article here. Let me pull up some of the articles that I want to talk about today. Now that we want to talk about some things. I'm trying to decide if I still want to do the Rumble or not. I mean, right now we're still good. I might have to let me see. I might have to turn the time back a little bit. Okay, hold on, y'all. 1 second. I'm trying to figure this stuff out. Give me 1 second, y'all, while I try to do this on Rumble. I'm not the best with figuring out Rumble, but let me see. Edit. Darn, I'm trying to figure out how to How did I even change the time? One second, y'all. 1 second. I'm trying to figure this out. Let me see. Edit. Settings. Public. Details. You would think they will let you change certain things, but I don't really see how I can do that. Oh, here it is. Oh, I found it. I found it. All right. Good. There it is. All right. Just in case we want to go in there, I'm going to put that on there. Wow, I see people already over there. What's going on, Gigi? Oh yeah, people want to talk about grounding. Well, I looked into the rubber soles, and this world has an agenda with everything. Now, rubber, and I think this is something that we have to do when we're young. If you have children, babies, it's good to train your children to walk bare feet, because a lot of people just didn't develop the right kind of conditioning when they were babies. And that's why it's difficult for people to do things once you already have injuries and you don't, it's really something that it's good when you start early. But yeah, it's good. I'm of the belief that God created us to function within His natural creation. So it doesn't surprise me that there's some kind of unknown benefit of walking on the ground. Of course, you have to make sure it's clean, no glass, maybe the beach or somewhere clean or like that, and make sure the lawn is not pesticide. But don't get new age with this stuff. The new age always has a counterfeit bend to their knowledge, but just on the basis of God created us wonderfully and fearfully made. So any way we interface with His creation has a benefit, just like sunlight. But don't get new age. Oh yeah, we got copperhead snakes. Yeah, be careful. If you live in Australia, you got those funnel web spiders and huntsmans. Yeah, I couldn't. I pray for y'all in Australia. Y'all got spiders there that I might have to get a weapon just to fight the spiders. I've seen some of the video, and I pray for y'all. Y'all have your heart down there. What's going on? Simon says, peace and blessings, brother. Yeah, grounding on the sand. Yep. Oh, definitely praying for Rebecca Lynn. All right, let's keep going. You know, it's good we have these discussions because as much as this false government claims that they care about you, they don't bring up practical stuff. Like I said, RFK Jr. tells you that he's going to eliminate dyes on fake food, but he's still going to sell you the fake food. He's just going to take one aspect of the poison out of a poisonous food. Don't fall for that deception. And that's if he does it. So let's go to what many people, and especially those from the UK, help us out so we can verify this. So I'm going to go to this article here. Okay, this is from the Daily Mail. So it says experiments to dim the sun. Oh. Okay, I'm gonna go here first. And so let's find the date on this. Okay, this is at April 25th. This is today, 2025. UK scientists are about to attempt to dim the sun. So let's find out what that means. So everybody thought that there was some kind of, that somehow, let's just say that their agendas are still in play. Don't believe Trump is stopping anything. British scientists could experiment with techniques to block sunlight as part of the 50 million government-funded, 50 million euros governmentally funded scheme to combat global warming. So here we go with the climate false narrative, right? Now, first of all, y'all correct me if I'm wrong, but UK doesn't even have a strong sunlight. UK is fairly, the level where UK is doesn't even get the strongest sun comparatively to the equator. So I don't know what they're talking about. And they call this geoengineering. The geoengineering project is set to be given the go-ahead within weeks and could see scientists exploring techniques including launching clouds of reflective particles in the atmosphere or using seawater spray to make clouds brighter. Now, my problem with this is that we don't know what these particles are, and I doubt if it's going to be seawater. And even if it is, if God wanted more than what's already there to be in the atmosphere, he would have allowed it to happen naturally. When they do these things, this is how they smoke screen, putting more poisons in the air and calling it something else. They give you these names of seawater and particles, but you won't be able to verify until you see that your skin is having a negative reaction, your throat is itchy, you start coughing, and then we're gonna wonder, what are they spraying on us, like we do now? We already see the unnatural cloud formation. So honestly, they're already doing this. They're just telling us what they're already doing. But again, the only reason that people believe this is because they trust the world. They fall for the climate narrative, just like they fell for the CB narrative. Same people who believe the world fall for these agendas. There was a good documentary about dimming the sun. If you want to have more information about it, check it out. It's called Dimming the Sun. A great documentary. I'll drop it in my Telegram chat today for those who want to see it. Let me see here. Thank you for the Cash App, by the way. Appreciate it. Let me drop my Telegram. I'm gonna try to catch you all's question. If I miss a question, y'all just bear with me. I'm trying to keep up with the chat, so I might miss some things. So if I miss, you might have to post it again for me to see it. Telegram. And if you do get Telegram, I download it from the telegram.org site, not the app store. And there's a difference. So I go to Telegram directly, and then make sure that you eliminate your data. You you clear out your cache and your data often so that it doesn't take up too much space on your computer and phone. Everything's on the quote unquote cloud, so you can empty it out every now and again. You said Dane Wiggins? I'm not even sure. Yeah, I'm with you, XC. I'm with you. A little spray, he make you go cray cray. That's funny. Yes, definitely have to pray for your health. Remember, we take care of our bodies because our bodies are the temple of the Holy Spirit. So we have to remember why we do what we do. Yeah, Telegram takes a little getting used to. It just takes time, for those who are willing. Oh, I appreciate that, Miss Smith. That's what it's about, sharing information, sharing our points of views and offering a counterfeit to the narrative that the world's promoting here, so people can critically think for themselves. The world is not built upon a biblical worldview. So whatever the world's information and knowledge is to steer you away from God, not towards Him. So those in Christ, we give information within a biblical worldview that is aligned with living for Christ within His image and His purpose. What's going on? Okay, he made the Deming. What's going on, Dale Griffith? Yeah, I don't know about him. I don't know. I hope he's not a shield or nothing like that. But it was pretty interesting. But also, you got to do your research with these people because, um, I can't confirm. Sometimes I see things and I don't know if it's control op or whatever. So overseas says Hawk, there was just a wildfire in South Jersey. The news claims it was a 9-year-old leaving a bonfire with pallets. Yeah, they're setting fires all around the world. There was a big fire in Chile, in South America. Y'all remember the Greece fires in Greece? Of course, Canada, Siberia, the Amazon. Man, they have devastated the Amazon, the Congo, um, all across the U.S. I mean, of course, Hawaii, and people. That prompted the DEW, direct energy weapon connection, the aerosol solvents that they spray that causes these fires to kind of burn unnaturally. We don't really know what's going on. Everybody's looking at the blue to reflect the. Honestly, it's so much stuff going around. You just pray and live your life for Christ, and being guided of the Holy Spirit, we'll know what we need to do when we need to do it, because you don't want to be overwhelmed and turn this stuff into anxiety as well. So, in Christ, we put Him first, and we are led of the Holy Spirit to put everything in its proper place so that we don't overwhelm ourselves, because it can be like that. Yeah, I'm with you on that, Gigi. Okay, geoengineeringwatch.org. Okay, thank you. Yeah, you can make your own cough syrup with onions and raw honey. Make sure it's raw, never heated, non-pasteurized, organic, no nothing, honey. And you take some onions and you get a nice little jar. You can do the same things with garlic too, but I think onions might be more potent. And make sure you get some good red onions. Organic red onions are probably the most potent. You can also use red onions and potatoes to draw out, from boils and cysts and infections and stuff like that. If you have fever, most people put some onions around their feet or ankles or underarms or something like that, to draw out the fever. And it works. It really does work, especially if you have babies and you're afraid of not having medication. Of course, when it comes to garlic or onions, you want to put a barrier so it's not directly on the skin. But it's really good. Get a potato too for the infants. A potato is less abrasive, um, and it helps to draw out the toxins and all that stuff too. That's the old people, man. They knew, the older generations. They knew about how to do things before the modern pharmaceutical industry start disseminating all their deceptions and lies. He said the stream is making you hungry. Talking about onions and potatoes. I'm hungry, y'all. I've been fasting and you're not supposed to tell people, but it wasn't. I was just not eating because of my tooth issue, but um, I'm going to eat. I just wanted to now that this thing has remedied itself. I'm about to eat. I just cut out the sugar. I'm gonna scramble me some eggs and use that as a base, get some bone broth, and kind of build myself up from there. Onion in the socks, yeah, that's a real deal. You said raw honey is good. Just try not to put it in hot liquids. Yeah, I had to catch myself with that. I used to put raw honey in hot liquids, and now I wait till the liquid's cool and then I add the raw honey because it does something to. Not only do you kill off most of the natural effects, you denature the honey in a way that it becomes almost not that good for you. So I used to do. I used to take honey and put it in boiling. Nah, let it cool down. Honey, it'll dissolve and warm. It can be warm, just not boiling hot. And that's good. Carrot juice, real carrots, man. Real carrot juice is really good. Same with beets. Get your beets, carrots, and apples. Get a juicer. You know, start blending that up. That's really good. Yeah, I'm always still learning. Speaking of tooth issues, I had a rough day. Wow, what's wrong, Gigi? Is it a specific tooth issue? Because I told you, I know if it's something like I told everybody I put a tea, get a tea bag. I used a matcha green tea or Earl Grey black tea bag. I even use a Par de Arco tea, and I put it right on the area where there's an issue. Of course, clove oil is good. People talk about oil pulling, just don't spit it down the drain. Um, what else? Salt water, baking soda, maybe a little few essential oil drops. Also good. You just had one start throbbing today. Yeah, try putting a tea bag on it. If you have a black tea bag of a nice organic natural tea, put that on there. It may help to draw the infection. It's hard. I know when it hurts, you don't want to touch it, but if you can prop it up there in a way where it's not like hurting, or take a little bit of clove oil and put it right on the area where it's throbbing with a Q-tip, or if you can drop it right on the area, sometimes that gives you immediate relief. They have this stuff called toothache in Walgreens. It gets rid of like really throbbing pain pretty good. And it helps you like if you're having issues sleeping, because I know when you lay down, the throbbing gets worse. Trust me, I know. You said fried onions on my uncle's chest in the bathtub, 30 saved his life. Wow. Yeah, onions are powerful, man. Onions have a lot of things. Like when I have mucus issues, I eat onions. I just eat it. Of course, I put a little bit on my stomach to make sure because onions can upset your stomach, but I eat onions raw and it's amazing. Put it in a salad. If the onions raw is too harsh, put it in a salad. Get some red onions, cut them up, put it in a salad and eat it. It'll help release that mucus. It'll help detoxify your eyes and your sinuses, all of that stuff. Red radishes. I need to try the radish. Fried onions in the tub. Yeah, I'm gonna have to look into that. Yep, cloves. You can get natural cloves and make a powder. You can use the oil. You can make clove tea. Just don't drink it too often, and don't make it too potent. How do preserved seeds? Yeah, it's a way. I couldn't tell you offhand because I know I don't want to tell you the wrong thing. You ever get a good blender, use it for onions. Yeah, try to get a blend. Look at the wattage. Anytime you're buying a blender, look at the wattage. Make sure the wattage and it's durable enough so that when you try to blend things that are not as soft, it won't. I mean, I know people want to get a Vitamix. That's a little expensive, but look at the wattage, the quality. They got some ninjas that are pretty good. Yep, onion, hunter vinegar tea. Yep. All right, let's continue. Give me 1 second, y'all. I'm here. All right. You said, all right, dinner's on. All right, let's continue, y'all. I appreciate y'all coming through. Again, if y'all really want me to go on Rumble, we can do it another time as well. I can cancel the stream, but if y'all really want to go to Rumble and talk about some things that we can't talk about here, we can also do that as well. All right, so let's go back to what we were reading here with so the project will be funded by an advanced research and invention agency known as ARIA. That sounds like the UK version of DARPA. The government has set aside, so they got their DARPA project over UK, and they want to put something. It's always about putting something in the atmosphere. People would say that we're the carbon they're trying to reduce. And I tell people, we got to understand what's really causing your symptoms. Again, when it comes to how we perceive what's happening in our body, most people are not looking at how God designed us. Our body lets us know when something's wrong. When you're tired, the first symptom that many people overlook is fatigue. Before you have any visible symptoms, your body, you don't have the normal energy. Now, assuming that you got enough sleep, you're not dehydrated, you're not supposed to be fatigued, especially out of this more than normal. Now, when you're old, you're naturally tired, but when you're more than normally fatigued, that's your first symptom. Your body is exerting resources and energy to fix something. So your body feels tired. Or you have something like candida, which is robbing your body of nutrients, internal issues that need to be, or organ dysfunction. Your body's not getting rid of toxins, and toxins create fatigue. And then another question, who are you allowing to interpret your health, and why do you trust them? The biggest issue I have with many people is that they go to these medical so-called professionals and they assume that, first of all, these people care about them more than caring about their paycheck. And then they assume that these people have the right information because they're credentialed through institutions. And this is where the indoctrination comes into play. I tell people, these institutions, because they have credentials and they're accredited and the government, elevates these people, that doesn't mean they're telling you the truth. You can receive a doctorate on lies. You can be completely educated and indoctrinated on lies. Many so-called doctors and experts have had an honest conscience to realize that everything they've been taught was a lie. And some have dedicated their lives to unlearning and spreading the word about this and expose the industries and all that stuff. Forgive me if you can hear the outside noise. I had to let some of this air come in. It feels good outside today. We had a nice day. It was like between 75 and 72, and now I think it's like 67. It feels really good. But my biggest issue is, why do you trust them? You know that people are incentivized by making money. We know how much money these doctors and all these professionals make, and their wealth is incentivized in promoting narratives to feed into insurance companies, to feed into hospital billing, all this stuff. You're not even on the list. There's a racket going on between the insurance company, the doctors, and the hospital billing and all this stuff. There's a whole racket going on. This is truly a corporate business scheme. Yeah, fraternities should be a red flag. Definitely. Yep. Fraternities is nothing but a low level introduction to Freemasonry. That's all that is. And look, I know if you are in a fraternity, it is what it is. I'm not saying that you are all doing what the high levels are doing, but you're conditioned in that way. You're conditioning you in that mindset. Yeah, they're professional liars. Well said. Okay, link to the Rumble. I'll put it again. Let me see. Rumble. Here's a link to the Rumble right here. In case we do go over there. US Day, all the heads are Gates Foundation, Taylor Pig. Yeah, I mean, it's one big club and they're all in it. All right, so I just want to talk about that. Everybody's familiar with that fog that was going around, right? Everybody remember the fog? The strange fog around the world. Let me see if I can find some articles. Strange fog around the world. That was so weird. Because even here, I remember on days when it was really cold, I mean like 15 degrees, the air was dry. Anybody know about the dew point and humidity of how fog forms? From a meteorological standpoint, there should have been no fog on those days. So there was fog. Look at this. Widespread fog sparks wild theories. Hold on. Okay, here we go. Now, minus the alien activity. Now, the secret test, definitely. Now, the fog was around the world. And it was so in your face until now, even the corporate bought CIA Operation Mockingbird media complex has to acknowledge it. Yeah, I remember that movie, The Mist. Yep. Yeah, a lot of people said in Florida it was really bad. And let me tell you, we're going to get into Operation Sea Spray, but the worst part of what they're spraying in the air is they're spraying mold and fungus in the air. Y'all remember all these movies about the fungus and stuff like that? They got movies now. I think it's about the fungus, The Last of Us or something. I don't know what it is, but they're actually spraying mold and fungus. And a lot of people don't realize that a lot of chronic issues is because of that mold and fungus, along with the other particulate matter they're spraying in the air. Wow. Wow, that's true. I'm about to check out that movie again. It's been a while since I've seen it. I need to check it out. You said, Todd says, a key task for me in trusting a medical practitioner is whether they want to prescribe pharmaceuticals or put me under the knife. Yeah. And even though, they can't really prescribe natural remedies. They talk as if they're bugged. They got mics hidden in the hospital. Like they can't suggest it. Like I remember my grandmother was dying. She was literally dying. I talked to the doctor. I said what we're doing. He says, look, I can't tell you, but all I'm gonna just say is Keep doing what you're doing. That's the best. And even saying that, he said that like that was a risk. Like, even if they wanted to tell you what's right, they have to be bold and Christ-centered to do so. Yeah, the powers that shouldn't be. Yeah, I noticed that the oceans, that you having all these red tides. Y'all bring that up. The red tides and algae blooms are out of control. It's a lot of stuff going on. You see a lot of videos where people like unnaturally diverting rivers into the ocean. And see that when that happens naturally, it's fine. But when people are being dumb and they're doing it for surfing, that's a problem. Yeah, they know you're right. They took an oath. They call it the Hippocratic. I call it the hypocritical oath. Hippocrates said, "Let that food be thy medicine." That is not what they're representing. When was the last time a doctor told you to eat the right foods? So it says the latest weather-related conspiracy theory to take hold, and beware of that word conspiracy theory. All that means is that you're challenging the official narrative. It doesn't take credibility from what you're saying. Claims that the fog blanketed large parts of the country contain chemicals and is making people sick. Dubbed Fogvid 24 by some, the fog has been affecting large swaths of the country for the last few weeks, and say many social media users is giving them symptoms, including coughing, irritated eyes, sore throats, and fatigue. It's a lot going on, y'all. It's a lot going on. Tita says Serratia marcipiens. That sounds like a fungus or a mold. The same thing they had during Operation Sea Spray. Yeah, yep, that's it. That's exactly what they're spraying out there. Thank you, Tita. For I was going to bring up Operation Sea Spray. I mean, honestly, if I had to get an X-ray, I'm thinking about how much radiation they are pouring. Even when I had to get my teeth X-rayed, I was just thinking like, how much damage is the actual X-ray doing to my body? It's a shame we have to choose between these things, but it is what it is. They won't even tell you. At least tell me that the X-ray is toxic. Don't play dumb. And like we talk about the pesticides. A lot of these pesticides they put on the food are endocrine disruptors to create, low testosterone in men, high synthetic estrogen in women. Most women having reproductive and cyst problems because of the hormones, the xenoestrogens and all that stuff. Xenoestrogens are the counterfeits that cause problems. They're not the natural estrogen that works in balance with progesterone, oxytocin, testosterone, and what's the other one? Is it prolactin or something? It's not progesterone. I forget. I can't think, y'all. But it's not the good kind of estrogen that's working in balance with your prolactin, with your other hormones. The xenoestrogen is toxic for men because it has an aromatizing effect, meaning it converts healthy testosterone into an estrogenic compound, and that will drastically destroy you as a man, and it will make your body toxic as a woman. That's why people have these fibroids and cystic fibrosis and all this stuff going on. Let me see. Many people will tell you about it. All right, let's check this out. Let's go to. I'm gonna pull up a few articles since we talked about Operation Sea Spray. Operation Sea Spray. Let's go to Mr. WikiLeaks for a quick second and just read it, and then we'll go down and check it out. All right, Operation Sea Spray was a 1950 U.S. Navy secret biological warfare experiment in which Serratia marsupiens and Bacillus glabigi, I can't say that stuff, bacteria was sprayed over the San Francisco Bay Area in California in order to determine how vulnerable a city like San Francisco may be to a bioweapon attack. Wow. There has been speculation that the experiment may have contributed to one death. I'm pretty sure it's more than one, and at least 10 illnesses, but no link has ever been demonstrated. Of course not. Who controls the narrative? Who controls the media? The doctors, they all play their part. Military tests. Now look at this. Starting on September 20th, 1950 and continuing unto September 27th, the U.S. Navy released 2 types of bacteria. When they say bacteria, think fungus or mold, from a ship off the shore of San Francisco. Based on results from monitoring equipment at 43 locations around the city, the Army determined that San Francisco had received enough of a dose for nearly all of the city's 800,000 residents to inhale at least 5,000 of the particles. This is within the range of infectivity for anthrax. Crazy times we living in, y'all. Crazy times. Let me go to another few articles here. Let's go to this one. This is interesting articles. In 1950s, the U.S. released a bioweapon in San Francisco. Now, look at this part right here. Look at this, y'all. This was one of hundreds of bioweapon simulations carried out in the 1950s and 1960s. Hundreds. And when they say hundreds, it could have been thousands. So we already have evidence that they put fungus in mold. So all the people were like, where's your evidence? And not only that, listen to this.
Biden and his lawyer allies weaponized justice, but Trump fought back and won. Now,
thousands of government-sponsored experiments did take place at hospitals, universities, and military bases around our nation. The goal was to understand the effects of radiation exposure on the human body. While most of the tests were ethical by any standards, some were unethical, not only by today's standards, but by the standards of the time in which they were conducted. They failed both the test of our national values and the test of humanity. In one scientists injected plutonium into 18 patients without their knowledge. In another, doctors exposed indigent cancer patients to excessive doses of radiation, a treatment from which it is virtually impossible that they could ever benefit. The report also demonstrates that these and other experiments were carried out on precisely those citizens who count most on the government for its help, the destitute and the gravely ill. But the dispossessed were not alone. Members of the military, precisely those on whom we and our government count most, they were also test subjects. Informed consent means your doctor tells you the risk of the treatment you are about to undergo. In too many cases, informed consent was withheld. Americans were kept in the dark about the effects of what was being done to them. The deception extended beyond the test subjects themselves to encompass their families and the American people as a whole. For these experiments were kept secret, and they were shrouded not for a compelling reason of national security, but for the simple fear of embarrassment. Beyond the test subjects themselves.
So let me stop a little bit there. Now, they tell you that these were done in secret. There was no informed consent. There was nothing. So this is how the Fed moves. They won't tell you when they're doing something. You'll find out after the damage is done, when they can weaponize the revealing of something to create controlled opposition. Remember, when they did it, they didn't tell people.
To encompass their families and the American people as a whole. For these experiments were kept secret, and they were shrouded not for a compelling reason of national security, but for the simple fear of embarrassment. And that was wrong.
You see that? Yeah, they're not embarrassed. They're not sorry anyway. They're using it because now they can get people to trust in the same system, or a faction of the same system that claims it's going to undo the corruption by covering it up, by offering a new corruption to replace the old corruption. They're replacing an old lie with a new lie. They're getting rid of the old guard to bring in the new guard. Yeah, hand washing. What's going on? Rolling the losing dice. Peace and blessings. It's another one I wanted to bring up. Let me see if I can find it here. Let me see. Let's go to NBC. And this is not an isolated thing. This has probably been ongoing since this country began. To this day. Don't think that this has stopped. It's still happening. We were experimenting on victims of secret, is that word, Cold War testing in St. Louis demand compensation. And here they were sprayed with toxic radiation. In the 1950s and 1960s, the Army used blowers on the top of buildings and in the back of station wagons to spray a potential carcinogen in the air surrounding a St. Louis housing project where most of the residents were black. So here they go with the identity politics. It doesn't matter what color. What matters is that they did it to anybody. Now, of course, they're going to use it to the identity politics. And yes, it's devastating that this country plays those kind of games. But spraying poisons on anybody for any reason is terrible. Hold up, y'all couldn't see it. Hold on, let me go back into it. I pulled it off. Give me 1 second. All right. I'm going to try to find the one about the radioactive material, because that's what we got to talk about now. The radioactive stuff. And they'll tell you Starlink is leaking radiation on us now in the upper atmosphere. I'm not buying this outer space narrative, but about 60,000 feet, there's something being leaked. We all seen the Starlink in the night sky, whatever that is, but they tell us is leaking radiation. So let me pull that up real quick, because everybody saw what happens during lockdown, right? Those fifth generation towers went up. They went up in neighborhoods. They went up around schools. And now they have single cells that popping up on shopping centers, libraries, schools, everywhere. Now we got street lamps, the purple ultraviolet street lamps. They have Wi-Fi capability, transmitting signals, connecting the smart grid with your phone, your technology, and people who assimilate with this technology in their body. So let's go to live science. Now, somehow they don't think this is a problem. Let me give you the date. This is September 27th, 2024. Newest Starlink's so-called satellites are leaking even more radiation than their predecessors and could even soon disrupt astronomy. New study reveals the Generation 2 Starlink so-called satellites are leaking up to 30 times more radio waves than their predecessor. And let me tell you, I read the literature. I broke this stuff down from their direct government source. These upper atmosphere, whatever, so-called platforms are working in junction with ground towers. So those towers that people think is for their internet bandwidth and their cell phone signal, it has nothing to do with your cell phone. Matter of fact, in my area, where those towers are is usually a dead zone for my cell phone. So all that stuff right there has nothing to do with your internet bandwidth and your phone signal. But it's actually setting up a connective grid with the other technology. Like on my Rumble video, look up Project Loon. I broke it down, I think, in a video. I'm not sure. Yeah, I think I might have put it on my main channel or on YouTube. I'm not sure. But I think I have it on YouTube as well, on my main channel. Many people, I've bought a radiation detector, and I can vouch for you. The radio frequency that's coming off of there is pretty bad. It's electromagnetic frequency. It's radio waves. It's EMF. You know, that's electromagnetic frequency, but it's all that stuff, and none of it's good. Even the magnetic wavelength is pretty high. And keep in mind that symptoms of radiation poisoning mimics the so-called flu-like symptoms. You know, the typical things that people associate with flu, which are just symptoms of your body detoxing and going through cellular detoxification: fever, cough, chills, mucus, all that stuff you get with radiation as well. And if you want advice about things that I use for mucus, black seed oil. I've used it for years. It works for me. Mullein oil is good. You can take it in many forms. Golden seal, great. Just can't use too much of it. Be careful. It's very expensive too in powdered form, but don't use too much of it. Slippery elm, oregano oil, clove oil, apple cider vinegar, stinging nettle, ginger root, NAC, N-acetylcysteine, honey and lemon, garlic, gargling warm salt water with baking soda, moving around for your lymphatic system, steam, hot showers, use peppermint oil, eucalyptus oil in the shower. It'll help loosen up that mucus with the steam. elderberry syrup. It works. You get the real elderberries and make your own. And keep in mind when it comes to seed oils, that canola oil is listed as a pesticide by the EPA. Let me see if I can find that. Okay, what just happened? Yeah, I saw that, right? I just hit and it just went away. Yes, canola oil is registered as a biopesticide active ingredient by, and don't be confused by that biopesticide. That's what they use bioengineered to make you think it's more life friendly. It's not. If it kills insects, if it's dangerous to any living organisms, well, your body is a living organism. If it kills bugs, it may take more of it, but it'll kill you too. It kills living things. That's the whole point. I tell people, stop using Raid bug spray. It has a neurotoxin in it. Do not spray Raid. Get peppermint oil. What's the other stuff? Citronella oils. Sometimes I get some rubbing alcohol and mix peppermint oil and citronella and lemongrass. Man, those insects are on certain plants, help around, keep your house clean. Things like that. Canola oil, chemical details. Pesticide site. Biochemical, conventional chemical. So when you're sitting there using canola oil, remember what it's listed as. Very toxic stuff for your body. Very highly inflammatory. And to give you more evidence, I brought this up before I bring it up here. Let's go to NIH. NIH. Selling sickness, the pharmaceutical industry, and disease mongering. Now, just look at this. The fact that you can find an article like this. A lot of money can be made from healthy people who believe they're sick. Pharmacia companies sponsor these things. I don't even want to say keywords too much, and promote them to prescribers and consumers. There's a lot of money to be made from telling healthy people that they're sick. Some forms of medicalizing ordinary life may now be better described as disease mongering, widening the boundaries of treatable illness in order to expand markets for those who sell and deliver treatments. Pharmacia industry. Pharmacia companies are actively involved in sponsoring the definition, keyword epistemology, of said illnesses and promoting them to both prescribers and consumers. The social construction, social engineering of illness is being replaced by the corporate construction of disease. It's very interesting to note. I mean, look at the article. I'm not even going to say this one, but just look at it. Very interesting from NIH, right? Very interesting stuff from NIH. Well, yeah, when it comes from bed bugs, man, bed bugs that's a rough one. They got stuff out there, but you really gonna have to you might have to do a scorched earth on that one and just clean everything in hot water with bleach, and I don't know, that's rough. But if you do have to use something toxic, just make sure that people get out and you air out that place and you clean it afterwards. Okay, somebody said diatomic dust. Okay, that's neat. See, we got natural options. None of the natural options seem to work. Well, like I said, if you have to use them, just make sure that you air it out and you clean it afterwards if you have to use something more toxic. I mean, I would use steam, smoke, anything. Yeah, I don't wish bed bugs on anyone. That's rough. Lavender oil. It's probably going to be expensive either way to have enough quantity to get rid of bed bugs. And fleas are just as bad. Anybody has seen a flea infestation? That's rough. Fleas are annoying. So if you have a pet that was covered in fleas, man, that'll definitely ruin your house. Yeah, you got to seal everything in bags and do a scorched earth and just do a lot of cleaning and protect yourself and make sure you can open your windows. And if you do use toxic chemicals, just make sure you protect it. Gloves, gargles. You might want to put something in protect your face and have your windows open. Yeah, fleas are hard to get rid of. I've done everything. People steam the carpets, lavender oil, peppermint, alcohol, eucalyptus, neem oil. Wow. Yeah, I guess it takes time. Put borax on the floors. Sulfur for fleas. Yeah, that's rough. So y'all see the title here, right? Another thing we need to consider. People always think that, going to pharmacia institutions is better for you. Well, even by their own so-called science, is not. Even by their own numbers. If somebody told you that you got a 33% chance of dying, no, excuse me. The third leading cause of death is going to a pharmacia agent. Would you go? Would you go? See, people want to believe, and look, I get it. There's some extenuating circumstances where you have to do the best you can. Broken bones, lacerations. There are practical things that these people can help you with. I'm not saying you just avoid them altogether, but you got to have discernment about what's good for them to do and what's not. And that's an individual thing. Wow, $3K? Yeah, that's a lot of money. You ever try getting a steamer, like maybe a portable steamer where you can steam and just kind of burn things as harsh as you can without destroying I mean, you can't steam everything, but steam some things. What's going on, Jeremy? A lot of people say that Dimitri is Earth. Man, I'm taking notes, man. I'm glad y'all have so much information. So check this out. You know what? Hold on 1 second, y'all. 1 second. I can't seem to get it to do what I want it to do. Okay, here we go. All right. Remember I told you all about the bees. Millions of bees have died this year, and it's the worst bee loss in recorded history. Again, the technology, the radiation, all of this stuff is taking a toll. You know what? I might just do my Rumble stream another time. I don't want to. I think I spent too much time already. Save some for next time. Yeah, the fine powder works. I had the carpet steamed. I used DE for years with good results. It's just rough and takes time. Well, yeah, the exterminated company will get the job done. You just have to make sure that you get the residue of the chemicals they use. That's the thing. You call the company, they'll kill the bugs, but I mean, the toxic effects of what residue and what stuff they spray over long term could affect your body. So the bugs will be gone, but then you start to develop symptoms from the chemical. So you have to find a balance. See the Whole Truth says bee loss reportedly is also being used to prop up news of crop loss and empty shelves this year. Yeah, they're going to see the tariffs, the food crisis, the bird bug. All this stuff is to create supply chain disruption, food shortages, because they want the world in a state of flux and transition. Because they're about to change the monetary system, right? They want to use they're going to transition into a new form of currency connected to Web3 blockchain technology. They're going to get rid of cash completely. And when they get rid of it completely, it's going to be into a totally new system. I don't know if they're going to use a crisis or some real serious financial downturn. Some people believe that Trump is being used to totally destroy the current economy completely. And there's going to be some rough times ahead, and they're going to use that as an opportunity to go full steam ahead with the new digital infrastructure. I don't know. I just heard a lot of things going on. Trying to make sense of it all says a fogger with cedar oil. It worked at the Detox Center. That's where we use for bed bugs. Okay. Yeah, foggers are really good because the concentration is higher and denser. All I'm saying is that, look, we put our faith in Christ. We live for him, and we live by our faith to obey Christ in all that we do. So when things are leading towards sin or trusting in the world or worshiping the world, those in Christ, we don't do it. If that means we have to go through hardship or suffering, then so be it. Our life is in Christ. We live for the eternal life that he has promised to those who believe in him. The grace and mercy that God has given me in spite of who I am, I can go through a little suffering for that eternal weight of glory. That's not to say, again, I don't know how it's going to be. I just know that, it is important that we do have the body of Christ, in-person fellowships, online fellowships, that we acknowledge God in all of our ways. Even right now, in practical ways, we're sharing information, resources that could be useful. And it's good to have in-person, real fellowship to people who can actually help you practically, in person, face to face as well, if possible. I know it's very difficult to have a lot of true spirit-filled, Christ-centered people around you, but if possible, always seek them, the true body of Christ. So I might do the part 2 on it. Unless y'all really want me to do it now, I might do the part 2. I'm getting kind of hungry. The electric signal is dumbed down with excess dust and timing. Tita says, I had an exterminator here and he said he couldn't guarantee they'll be gone for good, and they weren't. I still vacuum every day and spray the poison in all the bedding and without. Wow, that is crazy. That is totally crazy. That's it. Yeah. So again, what we do now, first, when it comes down to our health, is that we live in Christ. If you're not born again by faith in Jesus Christ, to walk in the Spirit, born again with a renewed mind, a new heart that loves God, not only are you not going to treat your body right, you're going to be blind and deceived to all the lies and deceptions. They exploit prideful people who seek an identity in the world, to trust the world, to believe the science, the false knowledge coming from the world, and all of that. And then you're going to eat bad foods because instead of taking your brokenness to Christ, you're going to rely on drugs and foods and all these things and lifestyles that are destructive and that spiritually poison you and destroy your body physically. So again, it starts with a faith in Christ. And then once we realize what the world is doing to us, we eat foods that are healthy. We eat the right foods that are healthy. We seek to drink clean water and to use filters. See, when your mind is renewed, you start using, you start applying practical solutions to not trusting the world. You don't just believe narratives coming from government about scandemics and all this stuff and start rolling up your sleeves and getting yearly flu procedures and all this stuff. All that stuff is you don't do that. You don't let somebody put a Q-tip up your nose. You don't do any of that. Really look into a natural issues. Like I'm serious. Tooth issues are serious. Many people have root canals that are leaking mold and fungus into their bloodstream, making them tired, causing systematic problems. But these orthodontists won't tell you about root canals. They won't tell you about the fillings. They won't tell you about how putting implants and all this material. And look, I get there's some circumstances where structural integrity, you might have an injury or something. Very extenuating circumstances might require such work. But there are a few people out here who will tell you that focusing on the right conditioning, making sure your mouth and your microbiome is in the right condition, could help you do what your body can do. Your body can do more than what they're saying. There's a level of regeneration, a restoration when you live within God's design for health. I'm not going to quantify that on YouTube because they don't like that kind of talk, but let's just say that there's a level of regeneration and restoration when you live for God in Christ, to treat your body the right way and lifestyles the right way. Your toothaches can affect your heart, your brain, cause blood clots, because that mold and fungus it creates infections in your blood that clot up as a response to, your cells trying to fight that infection. And many people don't realize that. And then you have the sugar that feeds that, all that stuff. It's just a vicious cycle and a feedback loop. If you notice, anytime anyone's had surgery, they will ask you if you have recent dental work, because even they know within their corrupt system how the integrity of your mouth is so important when you're going under the knife. So remember, what you eat, making sure you're expelling waste, get rid of bad lifestyle habits, no seed oils, no refined sugar, no refined carbs. If you do, everybody got to eat their snacks, make them yourself, or find a bakery that really has integrity to give you real ingredients. Once you find a good place, support it. A small local farmers market, support them. Just be careful though, because you can't trust everybody, even at a farmer's market. So you have to use wisdom and discernment everywhere. If you have space and resources to grow and time to grow your own food, there's certain things you can grow. Whatever. There's a food that I'm sure many people like eating that might not be so hard to grow, even if it's cilantro or herbs or like thyme or parsley or something like that. It's small things you can grow. Cucumbers, potatoes, not that difficult to make those. Tomatoes. Oh, I know what I want to talk about. Anybody notice how in the U.S. you don't see fruit trees? You don't see fruit trees. Now, I talk about this on my Telegram. Let me see if I can pull up the articles. But let's just say you go back 100, 200 years. The United States will be full of apple trees, pear trees, peach trees. There will be such an abundance of fruit that no one would go hungry. So the question is, between then and now, what happened to all the fruit trees? Why aren't there apple trees on every corner? Like, what happened? And keep in mind, this was a government, state, local, county, federal situation where they got rid of the fruit-bearing trees. And they promoted a lie. They said that the fruit was rotting on the trees, creating insects and all kinds of issues. But let's be honest, fruit was not rotting. That was the narrative. Even when I grew up, people used to have apple trees in their yards. It was the further you go back, the more common it was. But now, unless you're in the tropics or a tropical place, you don't see a lot of fruit-bearing trees. Even when you go to Florida or California, you don't see a lot of pineapple trees unless somebody has one in their yard. You don't see these coconut trees. You see a lot of palm trees with no coconuts. You see a lot of aesthetic stuff, but no fruit. And we wonder why we have all this pollen every spring and it doesn't go to creating fruit, because they got rid of they used to be male and female trees. And now they got rid of all the female trees and nothing but male trees. So we get all this pollen that's useless. Lemon, cherry. Used to be able to get strawberries and blackberries just everywhere. It used to be abundant. Now you don't. I remember walking through the alleys as a child and just seeing blackberries everywhere, strawberries everywhere. Now you can barely find them. They used to grow just readily in the yard. Strawberries. Just at random. But see, as they continue to pollute and devastate the environment, and people spray more pesticides and toxins, and you destroy the animal cycle. Animals play a vital role in spreading the seeds and burying the seeds and all that stuff. And the animal population is dying off. Mulberries, yes, they used to be everywhere. Honeysuckles, you don't even see those no more. We used to just love the taste of honeysuckle. Figs. Yep, they need room for cameras. They're cutting down the old trees. You know, in cities now, they're getting rid of all the old trees that are indigenous and replacing them with some kind of, I don't know if it's a GMO tree or whatever it is. But these trees, they're not useful, but they want small trees that don't grow very tall because they don't want anything to impede the signals and frequencies. See, in their new smart cities, vegetation dulls and blocks the radiation, the signals. Yep, they have fake trees to hide the cell towers. Faith Parent says the grapes are sour here. That's crazy, man. Grapes used to be so good. And grapes are so healthy for you if you can find real ones. See, if you have an area where that stuff is still growing, you're in a blessed location. Vinegar apple trees, wow. Yeah, they sell only male trees. Thank you, YB, for confirming that. They don't want people to imagine if there were just apple trees everywhere. Would there be anyone dying on the street from starvation? Why do you think the government privatized all the property? And they consider it was public, and they use the word public, but it's still private. So it's the arrival, it's the designation of the public-private sector, the public-private perception. Well, they call it, oh, this is the public domain, but it's privatized land. I remember there was a weird fungus that attacked everybody's fruit trees. Let me know if anybody else noticed. There was a year when I was growing up where the peach trees, the apple trees, they got this mysterious fungus and they just died. I mean, for years after year after year, that tree was fine. Then one year, I don't know if it was what they put in the air, the soil, or whatever, the tree just died. Pecans, everything. He said leaf curls happen occasionally on the peach trees. Yeah, all kinds of blight. And we got to be careful out here. Let me see if anything else I wanted to talk about. The trees, that's one of them. Let me think. The water. And when it comes to the whole COVID thing, man, I tell people, if people keep saying that they had the COVID, I would ask you, who told you that you had that? Who interpreted your symptoms as COVID? And think about this. Why would they interpret your symptoms to deflect away from the toxicity of everything else happening in your environment? Why don't people conflate their symptoms with the spraying of the skies, the fake compromised food, the radiation? Why do we always have to believe the narratives? We see that they're going to have these ever evolving fake narratives, just like they did with COVID, these ever evolving theoretical strains that are computer simulations that make no sense and create some kind of satanic name that has nothing to do with anything. And then people going around, well, I had this, I had that. And I'm like, who told you that? You had to trust their interpretation through their false science. You use their flawed diagnostic procedures that even the inventors themselves tell you that they cannot do what they're being used as. We all know about the Kerry Mullis situation. But yet, it's like cognitive dissonance. People do not want to accept that the world that gives them their pride and their identity is a complete lie. So to keep their head up and get the benefits of, bowing down and selling out, people just tote the narratives. They go along to get along. Yeah, they need to pat off that million in loans so they can get a Porsche. Just crazy times. Even now when it rains, y'all tell me if y'all experience the same thing. Every time it rains, there's a weird residue on the car. And it's sticky. And many times it was clear nights and some kind of mist was falling on the car. Now, those of us who've been alive for a few decades or more than a few, this is some news territory. A clear sky, there's a mist falling from the sky. There's always a chemical, foul, toxic smell in the air. And they want you to believe, oh, it's because of a fire. It's always a fire now. They probably set fires so they can conveniently tell you that the smell is from a fire. And protect your children. They're making it extremely more difficult to keep your children out of the system, and they want to call social service and CPS because you want to protect your child from certain procedures. It's really serious. What's going on, Sort of Truth, Peace, and Blessings? So it's important to just be aware of the system that people trust, and don't be quick to sign off on things. They try to intimidate you, and I get it. They try to force you into taking their procedures, knowing they have law and certain laws that require you to try to subject your children to experimentation. But do your research, find ways to circumvent that. Because once you put these procedures and you subject your children to them, the damage is going to be very difficult, if not impossible to undo. I mean, yes, we pray, but we reap what we sow as well. And that's under God's decree. We reap what we sow. You sow the flesh, you reap the corruption of the flesh. God never told us to trust the world, love the world, conform to the world, seek friendship with the world, or fellowship with the world. But yet people do that. They got GMO mosquitoes. We saw that the Bill Gates mosquitoes were released in Florida, and I just saw they release more all over the world. The United Nations. Let me see if I can find the article. United Nations GMO mosquito. Now they want to claim that they're trying to get rid of malaria and all that. This is the United Nations the WHO this is them. They're going to give you genetically modified mosquitoes to fight. Now let's figure out what might be wrong with this statement. What could go wrong with that? And look at the law, international policy framework. They're making this policy to create toxic insects. People have already accepted genetically modified, well, let me say secular lost people have accepted this as okay. That they're creating fake insects that could be doing who knows what. And then they want to fight their germ theory illnesses. But look at their results. Their results always end up with genetically modified or other injections. What's going on? None of your business. Peace and blessings. Yeah, same. Yep, they try to get you with that vitamin K thing. Yep, that's what they'll hold you hostage. They sure will. And if you have a boy, they won't let you circumcise your child without it. And even if you do a home birth or something like that, they have regulations where there are people who try to do the home thing, and somehow the authorities were alerted and all this stuff happened. It's crazy because you still have to file paperwork. And once you do that paperwork, they want to regulate and look over everything. What's going on, Ashe? Appreciate y'all coming through, man. Thank you for those who hit the subscribe button, and please like, share, and subscribe. I'm going to start doing more lives on here because I see we got a lot to talk about. What do the fleas cause in humans? Well, fleas, like many parasitic insects, anything that transfer blood, you know, I don't know. I mean, honestly, it could be an issue, you know, but the whole issue is, are they even real? Like we know we got GMO mosquitoes. I know many people who got bit by mosquitoes and had unusually aggressive and large bumps that were not the normal mosquito bumps that people get. And they become very inflamed, and people started feeling sick and ill. It's just a lot going on. Like, are the bugs real? Are the birds real? Y'all know about the pigeons? Are the pigeons government spy birds? Why do you only see them in cities? Any other topics y'all have might come to mind? Let me think. If you have anything that you've heard, because I know it's so much stuff out here being told, I can't keep up with all of it. So if you heard anything crucial, we got the fog. We know about the spraying of the skies, the toxic water, the food. Now they're recalling the butter. I saw something that said the butter was contaminated with fecal matter. Did y'all hear about that? Butter recall. Somebody, and how did fecal matter get into the butter? What's going on, Shazam? Yeah, I use Yandex and DuckDuckGo and Brave on my phone. I just need to use it on this computer. I'm just so afraid of downloading anything else because on my computer I have to download it, and I'm just, afraid to download. But I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna get it right. I'm gonna get it right so I can get these pop-ups out of here. What's going on, Leia? Peace and blessings. Be careful of ticks, Lyme disease, and even that. If you look at these things very carefully, there's always something weird about them. LED lights. Do not, avoid LED lights whenever possible. Not only they give out frequencies, their light, it just does something to your biology. I see that sort of truth. That's funny. Yeah, soaps and lotions. Stop putting anything. First of all, lotions, man, get oils, natural oils. There's plenty to choose from. There's a natural cocoa butter, natural shea butter, coconut oils. There's a lot of different oils you can use. You can make your own stuff. It's not that difficult to make your own stuff and buy the stuff wholesale, free of chemicals. You can make it when you need it. You can add your own oils in it, make it smell like you want to smell, without worrying about what's in there, or make your own stuff. Nourish your skin with real stuff that you can vouch for. You know, something says cocoa butter doesn't mean it's real cocoa butter. Something that says coconut oil doesn't mean it's real coconut oil. They use words to deceive you if you don't make it yourself. So just be careful with soaps. Get real soaps. Make your own soap or get real soap. A lot of people irritating. You know, your skin is like your microbiome, and the soaps can damage your health as much as anything. Do not ever get one of those fake antibacterial soaps. Jojoba oil is great because it mimics the natural secretion of sebum, or the oil that our skin naturally produces. So jojoba is good for an oil base if you want to add other oils to it. Jojoba is a good base. You said from dirty cows. Yeah, that's true. I was thinking that too, but it seemed like people used to know how to get things done without having those issues. Goat's milk soap, amazing and luxurious. I might have to try that. Yeah, that's good. That's a good thing to do, Keisha. You know, a lot of things will mess up your body's balance, and you gotta be careful with these things. Alicia, what's going on? I'm going broke buying Kerrygold. Yeah, I buy a few brands that I get, and I buy ghee, and things like that as well. Because butter, a good quality butter gives you all your vitamins, your healthy fats to help you absorb nutrients, reduce inflammation, all that stuff. You know, people used to do butter was a common staple in home. When people used to take care of the cows properly, they didn't have lactose issues, and all this stuff started happening when they started adding and disrupting the natural way of doing things. Then we start getting lactose intolerance and gluten and all this other stuff because they're not doing things the natural way. You said making soap is addicting. Uh-oh. Todd says also beware of the oils you cook with. Seed oils are toxic, yes. And the cookware, avoid Teflon and stainless and what's it called? Stickless. Um, you know, the kind that like the stickless ones. Don't get that. Get yourself a good scrubber and put in some elbow grease and do it the old way. Learn how to oil up, or what they say, season a cast iron skillet. Priceless skills. Yeah, farmers markets are good. And we have to support them so they can keep going. All right, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and get off of here. But I appreciate y'all coming through. I'm gonna save some for next time, but I appreciate y'all coming through. Appreciate all your kindness and support. And of course, I'll keep you all in prayer. Always praying for you all, and please pray for me that we can keep fighting a good fight of faith to the glory of God, that we are protected from this evil in this world, and God strengthens us and gives us peace and comfort as we endure to the end. Show the love of Christ to everyone you meet, and acknowledge Him in all your ways, and whatever you do to the glory of God. So this was just a first test stream, y'all. I'm gonna have much more to come. I might deal with the most specified subject today. I just was all over the place, so I might do a more specialized subject later. If you have any ideas you want to bring up, drop them in a comment, email, and if it's something I can touch on, I will. But thank you all again. So I'm gonna get up out of here. Appreciate y'all, and God willing, I'll catch you on the next one. So peace and blessing.